Hey everyone, and welcome back. Are you ready to dive into some seriously interesting stuff today?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Cool. So today we're going to be talking about Millie Bobby Brown.
Oh, yeah. I love her.
I know, right? She's an amazing actress.
Yeah.
But we're going a little bit deeper than just her acting today.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about what it's like to grow up with the whole world watching.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and how she's pushing back against those expectations that, kind of get put on young women in Hollywood.
I mean, that's so interesting.
Right?
Yeah. It must be so hard.
Yeah, especially for women in the spotlight.
I think what's so captivating about her story is that it really reflects like a broader societal issue.
Yeah.
Like she's holding up a mirror to how we treat young women, as they mature.
Right.
All the pressures they face, the double standards, and it's like all magnified under this constant glare of the spotlight.
That's a really good point. And so our source today is, it's kind of interesting. It's a snippet from a pop culture podcast. Okay.
And they were dissecting Millie's response to some pretty harsh criticism about, her evolving look as she's getting older.
Oh, wow. So she's not a little girl anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She was, 10 years old when she started Stranger Things?
I know. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's like we watched her grow up.
We did. We watched her grow up.
Yeah.
And so some of the headlines, you won't believe this, but they were comparing her to, like, someone's mother.
Oh, my God. Really?
Lady.
What?
Crazy. Right.
That's just so jarring.
It is.
That comparison. I mean, it just reveals this, deeply ingrained ageism that women often face,
Totally.
Like as if there's this unspoken rule that staying youthful is the ultimate goal. And any kind of deviation from that is just met with disapproval.
Yeah.
And it just makes you wonder, what message does that send to young women watching?
Exactly.
It's almost like there's a best before date stamped on women's appearances.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Right. But here's the thing. Millie is not shying away from this at all.
Good for her.
She is actually using her platform to challenge these expectations.
That's awesome.
So, and remember, like I said, she was 10 years old when she first shot to fame as 11 in Stranger Things.
11. Oh, my God.
11, I know.
Such a good show.
I know.
Yeah.
I love that show.
Yeah.
But, think about that. Your entire adolescence,
God.
basically your most formative years are playing out on this huge global stage.
Yeah.
It's just a level of scrutiny most of us can't even fathom.
Totally.
And then as she naturally matures, right?
Right.
That scrutiny just intensifies.
Of course.
Along with her changing appearance.
Yeah.
It's almost like people can't reconcile the image of that young girl they first knew.
Right.
With the young woman she's becoming.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Right. And this isn't just speculation. They actually cite some pretty brutal headlines in this podcast.
Oh, no.
Yeah, one of them was, what has Millie Bobby Brown done to her face?
Yeah.
It's her natural evolution is some sort of scandal to be analyzed and criticized.
I know. It's just so weird. Why are we so preoccupied with women's appearances?
Yeah.
Especially those in the public eye.
It's a prime example of how media often just fixates on these superficial aspects instead of celebrating their talents and achievements.
Right. Focusing on the wrong thing.
And the language they use in those headlines is dripping with implicit bias. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
It's subtly reinforcing this notion that aging, especially for women, is something to be dreaded or concealed,
Yeah.
Oh, you were great as a girl, but now...
Right, exactly.
And that's exactly what Millie's pushing back against.
I love that.
She posted this really powerful video on Instagram addressing these criticisms directly.
Good.
And she even read some of the headlines aloud.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, highlighting that this goes way beyond just her personal experience.
That's so smart.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that was really smart.
It is. It's like she's saying this is bigger than me.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
It was a really bold move to just directly engage with all the negativity.
Absolutely.
Instead of just brushing it off, she kind of turned it into this vital conversation.
Yeah.
About these double standards,
Yeah.
And the impossible standards that are often imposed on women in the spotlight.
I mean, she totally took control of the narrative.
She did, and she did not mince words either.
Oh, good.
One of the quotes, and I'm going to quote this directly, she said, "I refuse to apologize for growing up.
Yes.
I refuse to make myself smaller to fit the unrealistic expectations of people who can't handle seeing a girl become a woman.
Oh my God, I got chills.
It's so good, right?
That is so good.
And I think that statement really resonated with a lot of people
Of course it did.
because it just struck at the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
Like, why should she apologize
Yeah.
for something as natural as growing up?
Right.
Why should she shrink herself to fit into a box constructed by, other people?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
It's like a rebellion against all that societal pressure
Yeah.
to remain perpetually young and desirable by, someone else's standards.
Yes. Yes. And the response was like overwhelming. Like social media was flooded with these messages of support,
Of course.
praising her courage and her authenticity.
It's so great to see that people are, supporting her.
I know. I know. And even celebrities like Sarah Jessica Parker and Louis Partridge, who's also a young actor,
Right.
spoke out in solidarity with her.
That's awesome.
It's like it shows the power of someone like Millie using her platform to just push back.
Yeah, and what's so significant is that, like, Millie's stance really aligns with this, like, broader movement
Yeah.
of women challenging traditional beauty standards and championing individuality. It's about moving away from this focus on external appearances
Yeah.
and embracing, like, inner strengths, talent, personal growth.
Right.
It's so much more than how you look.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like how much of this scrutiny is rooted in our own, like, internalized biases
Right.
about women and aging.
I think this is where it gets really interesting for me.
Okay.
Because we've seen her response, we've seen the public reaction, but what about like the bigger picture here? Like, how do we as a society, move past these surface judgments and create an environment where young women, especially those in the spotlight, feel empowered to grow and evolve
Right.
without the pressure to apologize for it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we, like, connect it back to the broader context.
Yeah. It's about dismantling the very systems that perpetuate these harmful ideas,
Yes.
Totally. Like, think about the media outlets that we choose to consume.
Yes.
Are they fixated on appearance over substance?
Right. That's a good point.
And like on a personal level, what about the language we use?
Yeah.
The jokes we make?
Yeah.
Even the compliments that we give?
Right.
Are we unknowingly like reinforcing these narrow definitions of beauty and worth?
Yeah.
Or are we contributing to a more inclusive and empowering environment?
That's a really powerful point. Like, it's not just about these huge gestures or public declarations, right?
Right.
It's about the everyday choices that we make.
Yeah.
And the messages we send, whether it's consciously or unconsciously.
Totally.
So let's bring this back to you, the listener.
Okay.
What stands out to you in all of this?
Yeah, good question.
Where do you see these pressures playing out? And what role do you think each of us can play in challenging them?
Yeah. What can we do? What can we do?
Yeah. I think it's about, becoming more aware, like more conscious of those subtle cues and messages that we're kind of bombarded with every single day.
Right.
And then, like, having the courage to challenge those.
Right.
Even in, like, really small ways.
I think, what strikes me is that Millie's situation isn't unique to celebrities.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like, think about all the pressures that young women face just in everyday life.
Right.
In school, on social media,
Right.
even within their own family.
Absolutely.
There's this constant pressure to conform to certain ideals of beauty and how they should behave.
And it often starts so early.
It does.
Like, think about the toys we give to young girls.
Yeah.
The clothes we dress them in.
Right.
The stories that we tell them.
Right.
Like, subconsciously,
Yeah.
we're already, like, shaping their perceptions of what it means to be a woman in our society.
It's like we're handing them like this pre-written script.
Yeah, exactly.
Before they've even had a chance to like, discover their own voice.
Exactly.
And then as they get older, social media ads, like a whole other layer of complexity to it.
Absolutely.
It's this curated world, right?
Right.
Where it seems like everyone is living their best life,
Yeah.
looking their best, achieving their best.
It's so easy to get caught up in the comparison game.
Oh, totally.
It's like a highlight reel on repeat.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And for young women who are going through, like, a period of, immense self-discovery and change.
Right.
It can be like incredibly damaging to their self-esteem.
Yeah.
They're just like constantly bombarded with these images of what they should look like, how they should behave.
Right. So how do we help young women navigate this huge, complex landscape?
Well, I think it starts with having like really open and honest conversations.
Okay.
Like creating spaces where they feel safe to express their doubts, their insecurities, their aspirations.
Right.
Without fear of judgment.
That's so important.
It is. And encouraging them to think critically about the messages that they're receiving, to question the narratives that are being presented to them.
Yeah.
You're both in traditional media and online.
It's like giving them a filter, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like a way to discern what's genuine and what's just manufactured.
Because let's face it, a lot of what we see, especially online, is like heavily edited.
Yeah.
It's carefully curated.
Yeah.
To project this certain image.
Yes.
It's not real life.
No, it's not. And that's why I think it's so important to highlight these role models like Millie.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Who are actively challenging those unrealistic portrayals.
Right.
Like when you see someone that you admire and they're successful and they're embracing their individuality.
Yeah.
They're speaking out against those pressures.
Right.
Like, it can be hugely empowering for other young women who might be struggling.
Totally. It's like she's giving them permission to, like, break free from the mold, right?
Yeah.
Write their own script.
Yes, exactly. And what's interesting is that this conversation goes way beyond just appearances.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's about, like, a broader sense of self-acceptance and empowerment.
You're totally right. It's about, like, embracing all facets of yourself.
Yeah.
The good, the bad.
Right.
The messy.
Yeah.
The evolving.
Right.
Recognizing that, like, growth and change, they're natural parts of life, right? Mm-hmm. Not something to be, like, feared or hidden away.
Right.
It's about finding beauty in the imperfections, in the journey.
Totally.
The process of becoming.
I love that. I love that, the process of becoming.
Yeah.
And what about, like, the role of parents, educators, mentors?
Yeah.
Like, how can we best support young women in their journey of self-discovery?
I think it's about, creating a space where vulnerability is seen as a strength.
Yeah.
Not a weakness.
Yeah.
Where asking for help is encouraged, not stigmatized.
Right.
Where making mistakes is seen as an opportunity for growth,
Yeah.
Not a reason for shame.
That's a huge point. We often talk about, like, building resilience in young people.
Yeah.
But true resilience comes from feeling supported.
Absolutely.
From knowing that you're not alone in your struggles.
Totally. And it's about celebrating their individuality,
Yeah.
Their unique talents and passions.
Yes.
Encouraging them to, like, pursue their interests.
Yeah.
Even if they don't fit that conventional mold.
It's like fostering that inner spark.
Yes.
That sense of purpose that goes beyond external validation.
Totally. Because at the end of the day, true confidence comes from within.
Yes, it does.
And it's about challenging those who try to, like, dim that spark.
Yes.
Who try and, like, fit them into a box that doesn't serve them.
Right.
Right. It's about being their advocate.
Yeah.
Their champion. Their voice when they need it most.
I love that. This reminds me of this quote by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Oh, wow.
It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us.
Yeah.
And I just think that applies so beautifully to this conversation.
It does.
Because we're often conditioned to shrink ourselves.
Yeah.
To play it safe, to avoid standing out.
Right.
But what if we encouraged young women to, like, embrace their power, their brilliance, their full potential?
What a powerful thought. Imagine the world that we could create if we empowered young women to, like, step into their light.
Yeah.
Shine without reservation.
Yeah.
To challenge the status quo.
Yes.
To lead with authenticity and compassion.
It's almost like Millie's stance is like this beacon, It's like a call to action for all of us to do better.
Yeah.
To be better.
Yeah.
To create a world where young women can thrive.
Yes.
Without having to apologize for being themselves.
And it's not just about young women, is it?
Right.
This is a conversation that extends to, like, anyone who has ever felt pressure to conform.
Right.
To fit in.
Totally.
To, like, diminish their true selves.
Yes.
It's about recognizing that inherent worth.
Yes.
And beauty in every individual, regardless of their age, their appearance, their background.
It's about embracing diversity in all its forms.
Totally.
And creating a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued for who they truly are.
And that's a world I think we can all get behind.
It feels like we're at a turning point in this whole conversation, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like more and more people are starting to recognize the harm that these narrow beauty standards cause.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're actively pushing back against them.
You're right. It's like this ripple effect.
Yeah.
Like Millie's decision to speak out.
Yeah.
It might inspire countless others.
Right.
To embrace their individuality.
Yeah.
And reject those pressures to conform.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just her.
Right.
We're seeing like more and more young celebrities using their platforms to challenge the status quo and advocate for important causes.
It's refreshing, right?
It is. It really is.
It's like this next generation, it seems like they're less willing to just accept things as they are.
Yeah.
They're using their voices to demand better, to create a world that's more inclusive,
Exactly. It's like this reminder that each of us, we have the power to make a difference.
Totally.
No matter how big or small our platform may be.
Yeah.
It starts with recognizing those like harmful messages.
Right.
Those subtle biases that we've all internalized to some extent.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Millie Bobby Brown's journey and the kind of broader conversation that it sparks, let's shift the focus to ourselves.
Okay, I like that.
What resonated with you the most?
Yeah, good question.
What can you take away from this and apply to your own life?
I mean, maybe it's being more mindful of the compliments that you give, like focusing on qualities beyond just physical appearance.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or maybe it's, choosing to support media that highlights like diverse voices.
Right.
That challenges those limiting beauty standards.
Right.
Or maybe it's as simple as like starting a conversation with a young person in your life about these pressures.
Yeah.
Letting them know that they're not alone.
Yes.
And navigating them.
It's like every action we take.
Yeah.
No matter how small, it contributes to a larger shift in perspective.
Total.
And then collectively, those small actions can create like a huge wave of change.
Absolutely. So as we leave this conversation, consider this. How can you be a part of that wave?
That's a good question.
Yeah. How can you contribute to creating a world where young women and girls feel empowered to embrace their authentic selves?
Yes.
To celebrate their individuality and to reach their full potential without feeling the need to apologize for who they are.
Keep questioning, keep challenging, and keep using your voice. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll catch you next time for another, thought-provoking exploration.
Hi everyone, it's Millie. I want to take a moment to address something that I think is bigger than just me. Something that affects every young woman who grows up under public scrutiny. I think this is very necessary to talk about. I started in the industry when I was 10 years old. I grew up in front of the world, and for some reason, people can't seem to grow up with me. Instead, they act like I'm supposed to stay frozen in time, like I should still look the way I did on Stranger Things Season 1. And because I don't, I'm now a target. I want to talk about some of the articles that have recently released while I'm on my press tour, and some of the writers who are so desperate to tear young women down. One article reads, "Why are Gen Zers like Millie Bobby Brown aging so badly?" Written by Lydia Hawkin. "What has Millie Bobby Brown done to her face?" Written by John Eli. Millie Bobby Brown mistaken for someone's mum as she guides younger sister Ava through LA. Written by Cassie Carpenter. Another article reads, "Little Britain's Matt Lucas takes savage swipe at Millie Bobby Brown's new mummy makeover look." Written by Bethann Edwards. Amplifying an insult rather than questioning why a grown man is mocking a young woman's appearance. This isn't journalism. This is bullying. The fact that adult writers are spending their time dissecting my face, my body, my choices is disturbing, and the fact that some of these articles are written by women makes it even worse. We always talk about supporting and uplifting young women, but when it comes down to it, it seems a lot easier to just tear them down for clicks. Disillusioned people can't handle seeing a girl become a woman on her terms, not their own. I refuse to apologize for growing up. I refuse to make myself smaller to fit the unrealistic expectations of people who can't handle seeing a girl become a woman. I will not be shamed for how I look, how I dress, or how I present myself. We have become a society where it's so much easier to criticize than it is to pay a compliment. Why is it the knee-jerk reaction to say something horrible rather than just say something nice? If you have a problem with that, I have to wonder, what is it that actually makes you so uncomfortable? Let's do better, not just for me, but for every young girl who deserves to grow up without the fear of being torn apart for simply existing. Thank you.